Hey St. Louis, today we are visiting with Ann Houston. Now she's a singer and she has a wonderful background. She's 90 years young. So come on, join us for STL Going Like 60, coming right up. Come on, join us.
All the day long, while there are others living about us.
Ann, is it true that you started performing at the age of 4?
Yes, we did. At the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville in 1929. I was born in 1925.
Ann, I understand you were raised in Kentucky. Did you come from a musical family?
Yes, my grandfather had 9 children, and all 9 of them sang beautifully. And so when we were little bitty kids, they all were farmers. They lived within about a 10-mile radius, and they would all go to each other's house, and they'd sing, and all we had to sing was from church books, hymns. And we'd all sit on the floor and listen to them and go to sleep finally, and that's how we grew up, listening to them. It was the most beautiful sound.
And did you have an agent in those days?
My brother took us to Chicago when I was about 11 years old. Wade, he's gone now, but he lived in Santa Barbara. He was a wonderful singer. He took us up there and made the rounds till he got us on the National Barn Dance with Lulabelle and Scotty and the Hoosier Hot Shots, and then we won the Breakfast Club with Don McNeil.
How did you meet your husband?
At a club in Chicago. I was singing and he came in. He was Bill Houston, and Russ named him Billy and named me Annie, and then that stuck with us forever. And but he was from Sioux Reservation in South Dakota. He was a great nephew of Sitting Bull.
What was it like being married to Billy with 2 kids and a dog and living from coast to coast?
I taught my kids with what they call Calvert Correspondence Course out of Baltimore, Maryland. And we had school from 1 to 5 every day, and then we had summer vacation, and the only thing, they just didn't have any friends, and because a lot of times we'd do one-nighters. We'd just travel all the way across the country or have a week's gig or 2 weeks somewhere.
And what brought you to the St. Louis area?
Russ and Gene David came in the Taboo Cocktail Lounge in Daytona Beach, where we were working. And Russ came up on the bandstand and told my husband, said, "You're the best bass player I ever heard," which incidentally he was. And he said, "You wouldn't be interested in coming to St. Louis, would you?" And Bill, just before Bill could say anything, I said, "I don't know about him, but I'm not going." And he said, "What's wrong with St. Louis?" I said, "Well, we were there when I was 15. We came from Chicago to the Casa Loma Ballroom, and I don't think I want to live in the city that looks like that," because Russ said, "Well, I was born and raised in Webster Groves, and it's beautiful." He said, "I think you'd like it." And he told us he had a daily radio show and a daily television show and a booking agency. And, you know, he just sounded like he was making this all up. It sounded too perfect. And after they left, he gave my husband his card, and he took our phone number. He said, "You're going to get in touch with me." He said, "My bass player," it was Billy Blair was his name, "has cancer and is going to have to be leaving pretty soon." And Bill said, "I wish we could buy him for what he's worth and sell him for what he thinks he's worth." And we just laughed. We thought he was just a big blowhard. And it wasn't a week till he called and said, "Could you be in St. Louis Monday for the radio show? It starts at 12 noon. It was the Peabody Playhouse party. And Bill said, "My God, he's for real." And I said, "Well, I didn't believe it." And he said, "Well, I'm going to go." He said, "It's time we stopped traveling." Said, "We need to see about getting the kids in school because they're getting older." So he came on, but I didn't. It took me about 3 months to come, you know, to leave Daytona Beach in the winter for St. Louis. That didn't make much sense to me. But I finally made it and got here on Christmas Eve.
How did you become an orthopedic assistant?
When the kids got older and college age, I thought, well, I've got to try to find a job, but no formal education. And I called Russ and I said, Russ, I think I'm going to call Dr. Burst, because I had a brother who was a doctor. I said, I think I'd kind of like to do that. And he said, well, why don't you page him? He's at Deaconess Hospital. And I paged him, and when he answered, I told him who I was, and he said, oh, what can I do for you? And I said, Dr. Burst, do you know anybody will hire anybody who can't do anything? He said, yeah, I will if it's you. I said, I can't do anything. He said, you'll learn. You'd be at my office at 9 o'clock Monday. And that was it.
When and how did you hook up with Frank and friends?
Millie down the street, she kept telling me, I wish you'd work with Frank and me. She was a very good piano teacher and player. And she taught, she's my age, she taught until about maybe 6 or 8 years ago. So when I retired then, I told her, I said, well, I'll come down there and meet Frank and we'll work with some things.
You also volunteer at the Webster Grove Scholar Shop. What's that?
My next door neighbor is on the board of directors, and when I quit working at 80, I told her, I said, well, I'm getting ready to lose my mind, that's for sure. And she said, no, we're opening a scholar shop on Big Bend in about 3 months, and you're going to go there and work. And I went there and started when they opened, and I've been there ever since.
Do you have any philosophy of life that you want to pass on to the Going Like 60 crowd?
The only thing I've always lived one day at a time, and the cup to me is half full as opposed to half empty. And Daddy taught us, don't worry, there's enough to worry about you can do something about without worrying about something you can't do anything about. And that's why I try to live by that theory and just try to be happy and positive and not complain about everything. That's it.
So there you go. Short visit with Ann Houston. So until the next time, this is Ray Killebrew with STO TV, Going Like 60.